It is time for this week's Ask Evan segment where you ask the questions and I get you answers. And this week's question deals with police car lights. Tonight's question comes from Francis P. Francis asks, why is it some states down south have only blue lights on their police vehicles and all the other states have red and blue lights on their police vehicles? Emergency lights can vary widely from state to state and city to city in much of the country. In much of the U.S., early police cars featured only a single non-flashing red emergency light at the front of the car. Over time, police cars began to add another color, blue. Many areas, including much of Pennsylvania, flashing red and blue lights are the standard emergency lights on many vehicles. However, as you've noticed, there are more and more police cars using only blue flashing lights, particularly state police or highway patrol cars in other states. In neighboring Ohio, for example, many police departments are going to all blue light bars. There are studies that show blue lights are more visible and brighter both during the day and at night. However, there are also some who argue that when it comes to safety and visibility, the red and blue debate is a toss-up. So that is why there is still a wide array of lighting on police cars around the area and across the country.
Getting results.
It's Thursday, and that means it's time for another round of Ask Trooper Steve. And Steve, today we're talking about something you've been asked about before, but this is a real specific question about the lights on your car.
Right, he's talking about blue lights, and this question comes from John. He goes, may I get clarification? So he obviously maybe got some different information about putting blue lights on my car. Well, John, I'm gonna help you out. 316-2397 covers that law, and you emailed me about it, but you left a subsection out. So subsection 1 covers all these different lights and all these things. This is a blue light in the front of this motorcycle right here, and you're not allowed to have it. But this bike is allowed. So a lot of people are like, wait, Steve, what are you talking about? No one's on the bike, car's on private, the bike's on private property, it's not driving on a public road, so therefore it's allowed to have it. Subsection 2, John, you didn't include this in your email, that it says only blue lights shall be on a police vehicle of any type. Even in the state of Florida, fire departments are not allowed to have blue lights on their car. They are specifically designed for law enforcement vehicles. So if you have this on your car, I'm not saying you're in big trouble. I'm just saying keep the lights off, any blue lights off. I don't care if they're on the side of the car, the front, back, inside, off.
Gotta be off.
While driving on the roadway. If a law enforcement officer can see a blue light emitting from your car or vehicle or motorcycle while on the roadway, it's illegal.
It's a special signal for police only. All right, thank you, Trooper Steve.
6:15, time for Ask Trooper Steve. We answer questions you send in. Today, it's about a situation we notice sometimes with patrol cars.
Yes, it's something new and it's a great question, so let's answer it. I've seen a lot of police cars recently driving with their lights in a steady on position. What is this about? And do I have to move out of the way? Let me show you a picture, and you might have seen stuff like this. So as technology advances, so does the police equipment. I just wish I had this option back when I was cruising around, because I think it's pretty cool. So what it is these ends of the light bar, they burn to a solid on. So they're not flashing or anything like that. What happens is law enforcement vehicles would do this if they were, say, on a scene in a residential neighborhood and the scene's kind of under control. You don't need all the flashing and stuff like that. You also may see it in the tourist districts, I Drive, Disney Springs, or maybe even in your neighborhood as they're just cruising around. This plays two different roles. One, it's a visual deterrent for crime because that bad guy sees, oh man, they're out here actively patrolling, or it just shows that, hey, there's a law enforcement officer there. I know where they're at. They're easy to spot right away. Now, do you have to move out of the way? No, you don't. But the second this thing starts flashing, the sirens start going, then it's time to clear out.
I would say it's a bad driving deterrent, too.
Yeah, that's true. You're like, oh, they're right behind me.
Thanks, Trooper Steve. Ask Trooper Steve, where we talk about a question you sent in, and today it's about those law enforcement lights.
Oh, those famous red and blue lights. So we had a question. Kim of DeLand asked, why are police lights red and blue? And I had to go into like the history books here to start figuring out this stuff. So the key, it starts from the early 1900s and how this was developed. Like flashing red was always mean kind of, hey, you got to stop or watch out for something. But over the years, studies then started to show what lights can you see better during the day, what lights can you see better during the night. And believe it or not, where I come from, the Florida Highway Patrol did a study about 10 to 15 years ago that proved that blue lights are obviously more visible at night and red lights are more visible during the daytime. So integrating these lights actually play for a good police vehicle. Covers everything. And it also shows those who are colorblind to certain colors. Because if you're colorblind to red, sometimes you can't see blue. Believe it or not, I didn't know any of this stuff. So I was like, wow, this is an awesome question. So if you notice at night, you'll see those blue lights from a distance, and FHP lights will actually show more blue during the nighttime because they have a little sensor on their light bar. This also allows it not to be misconstrued with your brake lights flashing or hazard lights flashing or stuff like that. So red and blue indicate police, and it helps with just a vision thing, and that's why police lights are red and blue.
A reason for everything.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Trooper Steve.
Ask Trooper Steve is sponsored by Alert Today, Florida. Every pedestrian and bicyclist is important to someone, so stay alert because safety doesn't happen by accident. If you have a question you want to ask Trooper Steve, go to clickorlando.com/asktroopersteve.